Digital Audio Health by Symatrax.
Welcome to the Rhonda Grant Show with your host, Rhonda Grant. If you believe that there is more to life than what you see right now, and you want to find out more, listen in as her guests share their journey and their extraordinary experiences. Now, here is your host, Rhonda Grant.
Welcome to the Rhonda Grant Show. Sometimes the universe has a way of placing people or obstacles in your path to help guide and direct you on your mission. Listen in as we discover the path my guest has traveled. Has she been inspired by a calling, crafted her journey, or a bit of both? I invite you to embrace the conversation and to use it to help you to recognize if this is happening in your life. Our guest today is Agne Veckyte, who helps heart-led coaches overcome their fear of visibility so they can show up for their business, attract the most soul-aligned clients, and grow their income and their impact without the hustle and burnout that is too prevalent on the entrepreneurship journey. Welcome to the show, Agne.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
It's such a pleasure. Let the audience know a little bit about your journey, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay. So my journey, I suppose, started when you say about my journey, I kind of immediately think about kind of how I got to the point of being a business intuitive.
Sure. Yes.
And it's interesting because that journey started very young. It started for me when I was about 12.
Mm.
That was when I read my first spiritual book.
Okay.
And it wasn't a book for kids. It was a book for adults. So, but it just made sense to me. Everything made sense to me. It was kind of like, and then I just went that direction. I just started reading more books, and I applied. I actually, as a teenager, I applied a lot of spiritual principles in my friendships and my relationships. And I was like, oh, this thing works. And then, so I kind of had that trip into the spiritual world, into intuitive world. My family was always very open and exploring anything, kind of your relationship with God, your relationship. I tried religion. I tried different things. As long as it's not harmful to you, it's fine. You read it or practice anything you like.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had that wonderful experience. And then after I graduated high school, I started studying business. And that's when I kind of left the spiritual world a little bit and was really focused on, like, I'm going to be this great CEO, manager, international company, like marketing or HR. Maybe I wasn't completely sure about that. Yeah, that didn't last very long. I mentioned to you that I had a dark night of the soul at 24.
Yes.
Which was greatly impacted by the fact that I had been working in corporate for a couple of years, and I felt horrible. I felt like my life didn't matter, that nothing I do in the corporate world will ever feel like, I make a difference. Because I realized how big are the international corporations. And to get to the point where you do make a difference, that's going to take decades of just taking someone's shit. Sorry for swearing, but that's how it felt.
That's like, what it looks like. Yes.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, that's how it looks like. And, it did for me very much so. So I was at a very deep loss about myself, about who I am, about what I'm supposed to do with my life. I was also going through kind of a difficult situation with my family and with my romantic relationship. It was everything was falling apart.
Okay.
Literally all aspects of me were just coming apart. And I fell into a deep depression. And I didn't know I was depressed. So I thought something's wrong with me.
Yes, sure.
Because depression wasn't something that was talked about, almost almost 20 years ago, well, 15 years ago. It wasn't something that people talked about that much. I didn't have anyone in my environment, in my kind of friend circle, or anyone who had gone through that, who could have like just kind of said, Agne, I think you're depressed. No, so I just kind of suffered in silence until I started having suicidal thoughts. And that's where I realized, okay, this isn't right. So I was living in the Netherlands at that time. So I packed my bag, came back to Lithuania, came back to my parents, and started to try and figure out my life, what I'm going to do. And in one of those, I'm kind of stubborn. I want to figure out things by myself. So it's only recently that I've learned to ask for help. But so I didn't go to the doctor. But I realized I need to come back to my connection to God, to my connection to the universe, to my connection to my own intuition. And that's where my journey started, of discovering my own intuitive gifts. And then I still came back to work in corporate for a couple of years because I needed to make money until I figure out how I'm going to like, what kind of business am I going to create and how am I going to help people? Because that I realized my deep desire was always to help someone, to be of service, to make a difference in even one person's life. That would have been great at that time. So so that's what I did. I found different practices. I came back to reading books and just kind of following the breadcrumbs that the universe was dropping for me. So I just went from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, until I found kind of my path, and until I was able to truly learn how to activate my intuition, all my intuitive gifts, psychic gifts. And that's when I started really working with people one-on-one, helping them transform their lives. And I was, this is it. This is me. I am never leaving this path. I will make it work no matter what happens. I will make it work with my business rather than, to kind of give up, because there are sometimes difficult situations in business and in entrepreneurial journey, but I will figure it out. And I did figure out all the things, and it's kind of a short version of how I got where I am today.
Yes. And so when you were in the corporate world, what were some of the things that was going on that discouraged you?
Well, so a lot of the things were personal relationships and how people related to me, and kind of like the disrespect that is, especially it's like someone's having a power trip at your expense, right? Where neither you nor them actually have any power in terms of like structure, where
in
they
the big
are.
picture. Yeah.
In the big picture, it's like, why can't we just work together? And I think for me, what kind of killed me was because I was just experimenting and trying to find my place. And I had joined one of the big 4 auditing companies. And it was just, I felt bad for the clients most of the time. Right. Because of how disrespectful people used to be towards the client, towards their time. And also it kind of required for you to be suspicious of the client. And I just felt bad most of the time. So it was not a great fit at all.
It wasn't a good fit. Well, and the thing is that, our process is that we have to, I think, at some point in our life, have a position that we're in where we start to question ourselves on how much do we really need to take from other people before we make a decision. And if you wait too long, it starts to affect everything. Getting up in the morning, you don't want to start, you don't want to get up. And so I always think of the audience and somebody who might be listening right now, who might be in that type of position right now. And they don't know how to get out of it, because when you get a paycheck every week or every other week or once a month, it's really hard to start objecting to top-down method of business, right?
Yeah.
And so the breaking point for you was what? Like what actually triggered that was it, that you were leaving and you were not coming back again?
The breaking point happened a couple of years after the whole depression and the dark night of the soul, and really just dropping all parts of me, all the false identities that I had about myself and ideas about myself. So that was the kind of like the next 2 years of where I was still working in corporate, and I was actively kind of practicing and learning and diving deep into kind of self-help and transformational practices.
Yes.
But so it's a funny story. I actually manifested my own completion of of my relationship with the corporate world. So I was working here in Lithuania in one of the big companies, and it's like a supermarket chain. So, and I was in internal communications at the time, which was way better than audit because it was a little bit more creative and a little bit more kind of people related.
Right.
So I was not happy. It was better, but I was not happy. I knew I was going to go back to that depression if I don't change something. And I had found already a tool that I wanted to really become master and use to help other people. So I had manifested a situation where I would be let go from my job with a severance package. Because I was like, well, because I was still kind of like in a junior position. I didn't have a lot of savings, and I needed some kind of extra money to go and do the training that I wanted to do. So, and that's exactly what happened. It was 2013 April that I was told that, well, we're very sorry, but your position is going to be reorganized, and it's going to no longer exist. So I was
tried not to jump up and down, and
yes, it was hard. It was very hard. I was like, internally, I was going, yay!
Yes,
it worked.
Finally,
yeah. So, and I knew this was it. This was my end. And actually, what was funny is that probably about like a month or two after I left my job and I was getting ready to go and do my training, but money was not coming in at the time. I was like, well, maybe I should, get another job for a little while, save some money. And I had applied to several positions that were exactly my job description. Everything I did, like I could have copy pasted myself into that position. They didn't even call me.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, got it. The universe was saying, no, this door is closed. Don't even try.
Yes. And some people don't realize, I mean, you made that connection really quickly, but there's people who it's only in their reflection that they realize that they did miss the connection.
Yeah.
And so tell us about what happened next. How did you end up? So you said you're reading more books about the esoteric, about intuition, about...
Yeah, I was kind of looking, because for me, those 2 years until the corporate life ended, I was very, very deeply into what is the purpose of my life. I was just obsessed with this question. And I didn't have, by the time I left corporate, I didn't have a complete answer. Like, nobody gave me a piece of paper with a job description written on it. That's not exactly how it works.
No.
But what helped me is I found a tool that I was like, okay, this is step one. I want to do this. I want to teach people how to use this tool. The tool is called Soul Collage. It's a lovely creative technique that people can use to kind of understand themselves, to transform. It's a lot of parts work. So you work with different parts of yourself, you collage them onto cards, you learn how to kind of talk to them. Yeah, it's fun, it's creative. So I did that for about probably 4 years, because it was super helpful to me. But the thing is, again, it's kind of like the universe always knows, and your soul always knows the path.
Yes.
So even though I was fan number one, I was telling everyone about this.
Yes.
I wasn't getting a lot of traction with that. So I got some interests. I had some really cool experiences of teaching some courses in Scotland and in Switzerland. And it was just, and to this day, there is a small group in Scotland that meet together and create soul collage cards. And that was kind of like my legacy, which makes me feel wonderful.
Yes.
But I was like, okay, after a while, I was like, okay, so this isn't taking off.
Okay.
Like I was kind of expecting it to. What am I not seeing? And that's when the universe gave me another clue. And there was a different modality called radical forgiveness. I needed it myself at the time. It came to me from kind of a personal perspective. Once I got into it,
right,
I was like, oh, this is powerful. I want to know more. I want to learn this. So I became a radical forgiveness coach.
Okay.
And again, for a few years, I did that. But again, it wasn't flowing. It wasn't complete. So Soul Collage gave me a lot of understanding about different parts of us, and that none of these parts are wrong. They're all here for a reason, and they all need a place at the table. The radical forgiveness gave me an understanding of feelings and emotions and how they play and kind of what to do with them. Because my emotions were so locked at the time.
Well, they would be, yes.
Yeah, they were very, very locked. So, I mean, I remember one of the times where I came back from the training for coaching, and I had so much rage in me. And I was messaging to my group. I was like, guys, what do? I don't know what to do with this rage. I've never felt this before.
Yes.
So, they were incredibly helpful and gave me a whole lot of tools how to just start getting it out of me. That's before even understanding why it's here and what it's for and all of that. So that was kind of next step. And then the step that truly gave me my connection to Creator, to the universe, to Source, God, whatever people call. I call God the Creator.
Right.
And also to my soul and to my intuitive gifts was when I found a technique called theta healing. And I have been.
Can you repeat that?
Theta healing. Yeah, theta healing. It's like it's like a THETA healing. It's theta. Like theta. Okay. Yeah. So I have been a practitioner of this technique for over 7 years.
Wow.
And this gave me what I really, really wanted. And that is a way to work with the subconscious mind and really help myself, and then everyone else with all those pesky subconscious beliefs that are always in the way of achieving your dreams and creating things you want and having good relationships and all of that. So I will always be grateful for all of those techniques. And all the tools and all the teachers, the people I've met.
Yes.
And I thought this was it. I thought like, okay, I found my modality. I found this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Wrong. The Creator said, no,
not yet.
Not yet. You actually have your own modality that needs to come through into this life, into this world. And this happened 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, almost 2.
Yes.
Where I started receiving my information about a different process. And that is very much about connecting really, really on a body level, on a visceral level, connecting to the power of the soul and the wisdom of the soul, and using it for business, using it for your daily life, for everything.
Right.
So this is kind of like it's a journey of following breadcrumbs for me.
Right. And I think for most, and we don't realize it until, as I said, we take a look back. And when you were in corporate world, I mean, you were anxious to get the job and you're all excited, and then found out that it wasn't exactly, or not even anything like what you had imagined or studied for. And you had to start protecting yourself.
Yeah.
And you had to start, having some internal dialogue that you weren't happy, but still you conformed. And it's in that conformity that starts to injure the soul, I believe. Your soul starts to, I'm trying to think, because I've had some different times in my life. And I think what happens is right now, I would imagine that your soul, you feel that you have a unity with your physical body and your spiritual body right now.
Yes.
But during the time that you were really unhappy, the spiritual part of you may have seemed further away.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And it's in that further away that, because when you're not paying attention and saying, this is really bad for me, I've got to get out of here, you keep on doing the same thing over and over again. And your soul just says, okay, she's not listening now. I'll just stay quiet. And then the dark night of the soul comes. Our journeys are not too different with the human race. Some of us who take on the challenge, like you have yourself, end up finding out that there's more steps and more steps and more steps. But if you just jumped into that step where you are today and didn't have all of those experiences, you wouldn't have been as effective as a leader and with what you do right now. So, and people right now, there's people that are going to be at different stages in their journey. And this is very inspiring to them because they've listened to your story and go, okay, well, then I just have to wait and pay attention and figure out what my next step is. And I am flabbergasted at how many steps there are.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm here. I'm so glad I'm here. It was such a long journey until next year when there'll be something more that comes along. And we never know with the people that we meet. And you are really in a world now where your soul and your spirit is being fed. And when your soul is being fed by other souls that are at the same level as you, above you, below you, it still helps you with your journey. And you have a recognition. I have a recognition that I can tell pretty quickly. And I love that because then we don't continue to miss people in our path that have been set there to bring us a message. And the thing is that the messages are going to come over and over and over again until you listen to them. And they'll just show up in different containers, is what I call them. It'll be a different person, but they'll still have that same message for you. And it's only when you evolve that those people fall away and you don't have to put up with that anymore.
That's so true.
Don't you agree?
Yes.
These bad people, but they're not bad people. They're people like you and I that just have not had that experience, that confidence to be in touch at the level that you're in touch with right now.
Yeah.
So I really admire what you're doing or what you've done and that you kept on your journey because you're so very, very young and you still have such a beautiful path ahead of you because of where you've already been. So when you said because our audience are going to want to know, what does that mean? You said, you're in touch at a deeper level. Maybe those aren't the words that you exactly said, but you said visceral.
Yes.
That you are in tuned viscerally. And when you're in tuned at that level, do you mean your daily existence? Or is it when you're in the company of other people that you just have that feeling come over you and you land in your heart instead of your brain and you're able to teach from there and speak from there? Can you just give us an idea of where you are with that?
So it means different things for different people.
Yes.
To be honest, that's when I use my soul empowered technique with people, it has such a wide range of effects. But I can share what it does for me. So actually what's interesting, and this is something that I have been told by the creator when I received information about my process, is that for women, the first point and the first point of connection to the soul, it can basically be any part of our body. But actually, the one we really need is the sacral chakra.
Yes.
It's the chakra that carries sexuality and sensuality and our ability to create children and everything else. Because from there, if we kind of connect the energy of our human life force and also the soul energy, when they connect in the sacral chakra, what happens is we get the power to bring things into life, to bring projects into life, to bring children into life, to bring our dreams into life. It's kind of like it's a place where it's most connected to our kind of like human existence. This is where the soul energy can reach our human existence.
Yes.
The kind of like the closest to the physical energy that we have. So this is for me what it feels like to be connected to my soul energy. Is first of all dropping into my sacral chakra. Not even the heart, and not the third eye, which is a place where a lot of my guidance and intuition comes from, but it's dropping into the sacral chakra. And the beauty of the power of the soul is that it's a quiet power. It's not loud. It's not the, let me roar and take over the world. No. You can have that power too when you need that, but it's that kind of like, it's very, very solid, and you feel incredibly safe, and you feel very yourself, and you feel very, very supported from the inside. That's kind of, because I've experienced so many different spiritual modalities. A lot of them, to connect with your soul, it takes you somewhere. It usually takes you out of your body into a beautiful visualization or a meadow or someplace. This is connection to the soul within your body. You don't need to leave anywhere, and you don't need to come back. You actually come back fully in your presence when you're connecting with your soul.
Yes. And when we reside in our brain all day long, it's hard for us to even recognize when little times during the day, we might drop into our heart, drop into our abdomen, drop into these different chakras, but not realize it because we're so busy in our head that, and I mean, a lot of people need to be using their brain. I mean, we're not talking about not using your brain, but using your brain in conjunction with these feelings that are in your body, and especially the creativity. I mean, it's just incredible for women. I can't speak for men because I don't know where they tap into, but women generally have tapped into their creativeness, is where they create children, right? Yes. So very wonderful that you've went to that depth, because it gives people an idea of what they can do right now.
Yeah.
Just sitting, listening, or even driving. If you just drop into your abdomen, your female reproductive system is, and lots of times we'll find once we get there, how often we go into that area of our body daily, many times a day.
Yeah.
So thank you for talking about that. So what else do you teach?
Okay, so actually, this is kind of the essence of my process.
Okay.
But where my passion meets my process is actually helping women who are coaches and healers and business owners who really want to go out into the world, and they really want to shine, and they really want to bring their gifts to the people who need them. But they're facing fears. They're facing fears of being seen, fears of being heard, fears of being themselves. Especially on social media, in video, in public speaking, all of those things. And it's a skill that you need to learn. There's a way of how to do this, but before we get to that level, for a lot of people, there is work to be done on the inside.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of it is healing trauma. and releasing, and it can be childhood bullying. It can actually be a really tiny situation when you were maybe 3 or 5 and you had to, I don't know, recite a poem in your kindergarten play and you forgot the words, or something silly happened and it just got locked in your brain, and your body and your brain and your subconscious said, no, I'm going to protect you, so I'm going to create this fear around anything that remotely resembles this experience. And then I'm going to keep you as far away from ever going through this again.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that block us happen to us in our youth. And, you had 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds and 12-year-olds making decisions about their whole existence based on a bad experience or a few bad experiences. And so a couple of decades ago, there was a lot of talk about embracing your inner child and going back there and parenting and loving that 5-year-old, that 6-year-old, to sort of unblock all of these obstacles that we felt that we had to overcome. And some people never did overcome them and they remain blocked. So I'm really glad that you're doing that work. And a lot of people, I didn't understand it. When I was listening to it, I didn't really understand it. And it's not until later in growth that you can reflect back and say, that's what they were talking about, because I thought it was silly, to do this stuff, because I was a parent myself raising my own children, and I didn't feel like I wanted to also parent myself at the same time. And so these are the things that people need to be at a certain level in their life sometimes before they're able to do this work, because it is tough work and we're afraid of the work. And so how do you help people overcome fears of going there? A lot of people just don't want to go back there because they feel it's too painful for them to look at again. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is I always trust the creator to bring people who are ready and willing to do the work right now. Yes. That's one piece. And it's, in the beginning of when I just started working with conscious beliefs, about probably 6 years ago, I went through the whole spectrum of people not wanting, not feeling safe, I want the results, but I don't want to do the work. Yes. I want the results, but I don't want anything to change. And that's okay. This was my journey as a coach, as a healer, to recognize okay, as much as I see the potential in you and I see the help I can provide for you and the transformation that's available, if you don't see it, there's nothing I can do. No. Except send love and accept you and love you and, trust that the universe is going to send you someone who will help you when you're ready for it, if you are at some point. Another thing is, because I work with business owners, for whom their business is their passion and their calling. And it's almost that desire to bring their business forward leads over the fear. The fear becomes smaller than the desire to grow and to finally I've tried everything. I've tried every escape. It's not working. I'm going to have to, I can't find a way around it. I'm going to have to go through it.
Okay.
and I think I also feel, and this is what, what people who I work with tell me, that the process that I provide for them is very gentle.
Oh, wonderful.
So, yes, we sometimes have to touch difficult subjects and painful and release a lot of grief and a lot of sadness and sometimes abuse and trauma, but it's not re-traumatizing. It's not harsh. The thing is, the process of the soul has so much love. So all of this happens kind of in the cocoon of love. Yeah. And then it feels safe. It feels safe for people to release and let go and kind of just accept that, yes, it's okay. And, we do a little bit of that, of the inner child work and bring in the child out of that darkness and whatever painful experience they have been stuck in, into the present and into the heart of the grown-up person who I'm working, who I have in front of me. Yeah. So, yeah. That's how
Well,
it
it
usually happens.
it sounds like you're very skilled at what you do and very sensitive to where your client is and then meeting your client where they need the help in order
Yes.
for you to be, in order for you help them be successful because you're already successful, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
you're listening to the Rhonda Grant Show right now, whose podcast has been treated with digital audio health by my sponsor, Cymatrex. And today we are speaking with Agne Veckyte. Can you let the audience know how they may reach out to you? Do you have a website? Those types.
I'm creating a website right now,
Mhm.
but the easiest place to find me is actually on Instagram. And my Instagram handle is agne.veckyte, which is my name dot last name. And yeah.
And would you like to spell all of that?
Yeah, it's Agne.Veckyte.
Perfect. Wonderful. Do you feel that you've been called to your journey, crafted it, or a bit of both?
I would say I was definitely called to step on the path.
To step on the path.
Yes.
Because you were off the path?
Yes, I was
You're off the
definitely
path.
off.
Okay.
I was off.
Yeah, no, I was
yeah.
off the path too. We
Mhm.
don't realize until we get back
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that nobody gave us a handbook. Like, this is the handbook to your life. This is what you do to avoid pain and suffering
Where is the
and
handbook?
depression and illness. Yes, would be great if somebody handed that book. But I mean, there are different tools that can help. But also, it's like when you are 20 or 20 something, even if somebody handed you the book, you would just put it on the shelf and tell them, I know better. I'm just gonna
I
do
know
I'm gonna do me.
everything right
Yeah.
now. I don't need anybody's help.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, fine. That's the human. I think that's the human experience.
Well, it's a human experience, and it's wonderful because we've all been there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't need your advice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you very much. Yeah, that's one thing I had to actually learn as a healer, as an intuitive, because sometimes I just sort of randomly receive information about the person
Beautiful.
as I'm talking to them, and I'm like, I've learned that if information comes through me, it's probably here to be shared, but I cannot share without permission. So I learned to ask, I'm getting some insights. Would you like to hear them? And some people say yes, some people say no. And, that's fine. It's up to them, free will.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what extraordinary discovery have you found in your life?
Oh, there have been so many, to be honest.
Why don't we start with one? And then, and we probably have time to hear two or three. So let's do it.
Okay. So I'm going to share an extraordinary discovery in the form of a story. I was in a event course seminar where we were learning a process how to kind of receive a sound energetically and then use that sound by kind of gently releasing pain, your struggles, your everything that you have locked inside. It's a beautiful process. It was a 2-day event, and the teachers, they're two brothers, and they bring instruments and they they make silly sounds, and you feel incredibly comfortable just being in the space. And you learn the process, and it's part of the theta healing world kind of courses that are available. So one of the kind of meditations that we go into, and then you channel the sound, and then you let the sound go, and I'm going through this, and I feel great, and things are releasing. And then one of them says, the music is also created by the creator. It's also love, and it was created for everyone, you included. And it just I don't know, it burst something in me. Because in that moment, because I could almost feel the waves of instruments and music, and they had like Tibetan bowls and a guitar and all sorts of wonderful sounds. I could feel the waves coming into my body and bringing love. And I realized, the music was created for everyone, including me. And I felt so loved, universally, kind of, not just loved by the people who are in my life, my family, my friends, but loved by the creator, loved by the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was high on that feeling for like a good 2 weeks until I got used to it being my reality.
Yeah.
But I think that this was just, it shifted so many things in my life, just that understanding.
Yes. And vibrational frequency will do that. Even I spoke with a person that, I think you've listened to her podcast about the tuning fork.
Yes, I remember.
Right. And the Tibetan bowls are very healing. And people don't realize that the sound that they're making is based on vibration. And I was in a class, and there was all women. And the man at the end of the class, he played his Tibetan bowl. And it went on for a long time. I had a hard time sitting up. We all had our mats and everything around the floor. And I started to look around, and almost everybody was laying down straight out. And I had to do it too, because my body just wanted to not have to think about being tense. Just wanted to lay down as well. And the healing that I received from that was incredible. It was life-changing. And so I truly know what you mean, because music, and I mean, that's why music's played all the time, everywhere you go. It changes. It can change your mood, but also it is vibration. And so thank you very much for sharing that. That is so significant to share something like that. It's deep.
It's my pleasure.
It's deep and personal, and I'm really glad that you felt safe enough to share that on my podcast. I honor you for that. Is there something else that you have experienced?
Let me think. There were definitely things about feeling worthy. Yeah, feeling worthy, especially as a business owner, as someone that, asks people for money to pay for my services. I would love to be able to do it for free, but
we can't.
Exactly. So it has been quite a journey in the beginning, because it's interesting. I'm the first one in my family who started her own business. And also, if you know anything about the history of Lithuania, the recent one at least, is we had been under Soviet rule for 50 years. So it was only 1990 that we gained independence, and kind of the word capitalism was not a curse word as it was in Soviet times, because that was bad. And then we had to move as a country, as a culture, we had to move to shift. We didn't join the Soviet Union voluntarily. That was an occupation. So it was forced upon everyone, but it was what people got used to survive. So just in general, that relationship with money, and money being bad and evil, and only like all the rich people are thieves and bad, and they abuse people, and they take advantage, and they steal things. And that was kind of the collective consciousness at the time when I was 6, when the Berlin Wall collapsed and the Soviet Union collapsed as well. So going through the journey and healing my relationship with money, and until I got to the point where I fully realized that money is, first of all, it's just energy, but it's not random energy. There's no such thing as just random energy. At the very, at the sort of the base level, all energy is love. This is what everything is created from. It's unconditional love. So if money is unconditional love, then it can't be bad. It can't. It's fine. It's how I use it. And if I use it to help myself and to help other people and to make a bigger impact in the world, how can it be bad? So that's a journey that still goes on, because there are still new layers and new levels to uncover and release and transform.
Right. Mhm. Well, and also the Bible says money is the root of all evil. And I mean, people grow up hearing this. Money doesn't grow on trees. There's all this thing,
Exactly.
these connotations around money, which
Mhm.
makes us think that money is the root of all evil. But
Yes.
why is it? I mean,
Mhm.
we can do so many rich and great things in the world with money. And so it takes a long time to reframe
Mhm.
because it's not only reframing yourself. I mean, it's a whole society
Yeah.
that feels the same way.
Mhm. Yeah, and especially kind of like in the healers circle,
Yes.
because they often go into business not because they want to start a business and make money, but because they want to help people. And they also want to, they want to be able to support themselves by doing what they absolutely love and what they're called to do. But then there is the whole, I call it the standard healer package kind of belief set, a set of beliefs that is a standard healer package. I want to
Yes.
save everyone. It's my job to save the world. It's my responsibility. I am cannot receive any money for the healing that I do because then I'll be a bad person. It's almost like everyone who is heart-led has a set of these beliefs in some form. And it's just extraordinary because when we think about it, even when we look at like nature and cosmos and the stars, it's so abundant. There's no scarcity.
No,
In
there's
the
no
universe.
scarcity. No.
God is not poor. I remember one of my teachers saying that, and I just started laughing out loud. God is not poor. So why do we keep believing that we have to be poor in order to be close to God? We don't.
No. It's made up by the rich people, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably made up by. It was useful at some point. I'm sure.
Was useful.
It was useful at some point.
Yes.
For humanity to grow and to learn some virtues and to develop something, but
Yes.
I doubt it's useful now in any way.
Yes, that's right. But sometimes we keep a hold of those things. It takes a long time to abandon them. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to share before we wrap up the show?
No, I think we've had a great conversation.
We've had a great conversation. Yeah. We certainly have. And I've really appreciated, well, first of all, meeting you. And second of all, spending this time with you because, you have a grit in you and your soul is, you're rewarding your soul continually by paying attention because there's a lot of people that don't pay attention. And I didn't pay attention for quite some time until I had to. And that's what happens with this journey. If you take a look around your life and see that things aren't working out the way you'd like them to, then maybe you need to do some, what do they call it? Soul searching. Or maybe just paying attention to, intuition and all of those things, because it's easy to get that intuitive hit and just say, oh, I'll remember that. And you don't. It comes, it's there, it tells you, and it's gone. There's no follow-up. And unless you dream it up in a dream, it's not coming back to court you because it goes somewhere else. Because if you're not paying attention, those messages just go and fall on somebody who will pay attention. Yeah. So thank you very much for being on the show. You've shared so much and it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Rhonda. And it's been a pleasure to share and to be able to kind of express and share my journey and share what I do. And thank you for your work, because you do beautiful work and you bring so many voices out into the world. So I really appreciate this opportunity to speak to you, and I just really enjoyed our energy and our just connection. And we almost don't want to say goodbye. I know. So we'll have a little chat after the show. Theme song for the Rhonda Grant Show is "Sun on the Water," composed and performed by my friend John Park Wheeler. This is Rhonda Grant with The Rhonda Grant Show, author of Magical Forces Within, Extraordinary Discoveries in an Ordinary Life, inviting you to look for the magical forces within yourself today and every day.
thanks for tuning in to the Rhonda Grant Show with your host, Rhonda Grant. If you would like to find out more information about Rhonda and her upcoming guests and the work that she does, go to her website, rhondagrantauthor.com. That's rhondagrantauthor.com.
Digital Audio Health by Cymatrax.